welcome back to the Craft Castle. My name is Ashley and I have the tutorial of the year for you today. And it's what, April? I am going to blow your socks off. If I don't, I'm telling you, I don't know what will. Okay, so today we are going to sublimate on white glitter cardstock. That's exactly what I just said. Sublimation print on white glitter cardstock. We are going to make something absolutely stinking amazing today. I'm sure you're trying to ask yourself, why in the world would I want to do that? Well, I'll show you one example. This cute little mermaid favor box. We're going to make this today. Yeah. So I was over on TikTok getting ready to post a video and I was doing my hashtags. And the hashtags, one of the trending ones that popped up was sublimation on white glitter cardstock. And before doing any other research like a normal person would do, I just ran up here to my craft castle and I started crafting. I got some random clip arts that I found online, printed them on my sublimation printer, and it freaking worked. Yeah, it worked. So here's the deal. It's like, why do we need this? I don't know, right? I came up with a cool design that we're gonna do, and it's gonna be that mermaid favor box. The other thing, as I created this, it just occurred to me that we could do like our own sublimation scrapbook paper. So for me, and in my shop, I actually sell glitter cardstock, and I have a wide variety of it. But sometimes I get requests for like cheetah print or rainbow, and I don't carry that stuff. And I don't really know where you could find that or source that elsewhere. So instead of just not having the ability to do that, what you could do is you could do a print of rainbow and then sublimate it on top of the white glitter cardstock. Boom. You now have your own customized glitter cardstock. I did just say all of that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so for this project, this one in particular, all you're gonna need is just a single sheet of glitter cardstock. I'm gonna be using my old white glitter cardstock. If you shop in my cardstock shop, you will know that I offer two, and one's titled New White and the other one's titled Old White. We are gonna be using the old white or the original white. The new white does not work. Ask me how I know. I melted it underneath my heat press. It was no fun. So if you're gonna be shopping in my cardstock shop, you're gonna be looking for the old white or the original white to do this. And then you're just gonna need 2 additional sheets of glitter cardstock, a mint and lavender or lilac if you have that on hand. But I'm gonna be using lavender today. You're just gonna need a little bit of glue. You're obviously going to need a sublimation printer to do our sublimation print, and then you're gonna need a heat press. This is going to be the easiest tutorial and it's going to just knock your socks off. So let's go over to the computer where I'm going to show you how to completely design this box from start to finish. And then we'll go back over to the heat press and we'll make sure that we got all our settings, time, temp, all of that jazz perfectly perfect. So you can also sublimate on white glitter cardstock. Now let's get started. Very first thing that you're going to want to do is open up a blank window in Design Space. Then what you're going to do is go in the description of this video, and there is going to be a total of 2 clip arts that you're going to need the hashtag number for. Copy and paste those into the image field. Over here, you would just put the number right in there, press search. You're going to search for 2 images. When you have that loaded into Cricut Design Space, what you're going to be left with is something that looks like this. You're going to have a Christmas tree looking thing, and then obviously a mermaid tail, because we are going to be doing a mermaid box. So for the very first thing, let's work on this mermaid tail. So for this tail, I just made it larger. We're going to Command-Shift-G, which is ungroup. Then I'm just going to drag over this teal looking thing, the outline of the tail. I'm going to drag it down. And then I'm just going to come over here to contour. So the easiest and quickest way to get exactly what I'm looking for in this, you're going to want to hide all contours. Now what you're going to be left with is that big portion of the tail, and I don't want that. I actually want this portion of the tail. So I'm going to unclick that, click that big portion, and then I'm going to click out of it. So now all I'm left with is this small little portion of the tail, which is perfect, and that's exactly what I wanted. Okay, so the very next step that I want to do is I want to take this teal one, and I'm going to Command D, which is duplicate. And I just want a whole nother tail. I'm going to drag this over to the right. And then with this top portion, do you see how there's like these little cutouts and then I have the full tail? I really just want those cutouts. So I'm going to come back over into contour And I am only going to select that big portion of the tail. And then I'm just going to click out of it. So then I'm left with is just those little wisps for the tail. I'm going to drag this over into my teal tail, and you see how it's in the back. What you can do is you can come up here into arrange, and then you can arrange it to the front. Okay, then when you have that, we're just going to drag this over and place it wherever you would like to place that. I'm going to delete this big old purple because I don't need that. When you have these lines set up the way that you want, we're going to select both and then come over here and press slice. We are going to delete this line and then also this line, and what you're left with is the top portion of what's going to be our mermaid tail. So I'm going to change this over into a light purple, and then for the back of the tail, I am going to change this over into a mint green. Okay, I'm going to press shift on my keyboard, selecting both of the tails, and I'm going to align it to the center, and then I'm going to press group, which is Command G. I'm going to set this over to the side. We're going to work on the actual favor box now. So bringing over this 3D Christmas tree, Command Shift G, which is ungroup. I'm just going to delete all the rest of them. Take this tree, and I'm going to contour and hide all contours. This is what we're going to use as white cardstock. So now I'm going to change this over into white. You're going to need the shadow. Do you see on the original box how there's like a Christmas tree cutout? We're going to need some type of shadow feature for this. So taking your white triangle, you're going to come up here into offset, and we're just going to create an offset. Now, for this particular shape, there's some really tough corners or harsh corners. So I want to make sure to keep that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click that corner. And we're just going to drag this offset any size that you want. There is no right or wrong answer here. If you want them really large, you can make them really large. If you want the offset to be smaller, you can make it smaller. So I'm just going to create a little offset, and I'm going to press apply. I'm going to change this over into light purple. So I'm going to do is select both of the triangles that I created, selecting Command G, which is group. We want to group these together. We are going to do the same thing for the rest of the 3 corners. So all you want to do is Command D, which is duplicate, Command D, which is duplicate, and one more time, Command D, which is duplicate. We want a total of 4. So selecting these 3 and also this original triangle, let's go to align and then center. And then I'm going to realign this back up to that line. We're going to try and make this super easy. Okay, so taking just one, so I'm just going to click the top, I'm going to flip it horizontally, and then pressing shift on my keyboard, I'm going to drag it over to where it lines up with that score line. Okay, and so for the bottom 2, what we're going to do is we're going to select one over here and then shift on our keyboard, and then we're going to select the second one. And then we're going to press flip, and we're going to flip vertically. Now, pressing shift on your keyboard, you want to just line this back up with that score mark that we were doing before. Okay, we're going to click out of that. Remember, we have 2 in that stack. So I'm going to take that triangle and I'm going to flip it horizontally. Pressing shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to drag it over, lining it back up with our box. Okay, it is okay that there is some overlapping in certain areas. We actually want the overlapping just so everything gets welded together and looks really good. Then what you want to do is you're going to insert a shape. So we're just going to come over here into shape and click that square. You want the harsh square, not the one that has the rounded corners. And I'm just going to make this bigger, and I'm going to place this in right here. Okay, let's zoom on in real quick. Okay, and you see how in the original design, the square is actually slanted. So we're going to want to slant that. And this gets rotated 45 degrees. Okay, and now what you want to do is resize this box to about the same size as our original box. And actually, you know what? I just remembered. I need 2 squares. So we're going to Command D, which is duplicate. I'm going to drag this back over into my square. We're going to select the square we just added, the triangles, and then the original square that we put in the first time. I'm going to align it to the center. And then for every triangle that we have grouped, you want to ungroup it. So Command Shift G on all your triangle groups. Okay, then what you want to do is taking your original square that you put in and we want to press shift on our keyboard, and then you only want to select the purple offsets. So coming over here, and we're going to select 4 purple offsets, and we're going to combine it and then weld. Do you see what it looks like now? Looks so different than what it was, right? Okay, we're going to change this back. So coming back over here into the weld result, we're going to change this back to that light purple, and then we're going to arrange this to the back. Okay, click out of that. And with this box right here, what we want to do now is we're going to change it from basic cut to score. Okay, and we need these additional little cut lines that are in the file. And in order to do that, we're going to go over into shapes, and we're going to insert a score line. Okay, drag this over to one of the cuts, and we're just going to resize this, making sure that it's lined up with the corner of our square. So if it's easier for you, we can just take this 3D box now and just delete it. Let's zoom in, and I'm going to click out. So you see how this corner and this corner is not really lining up with the line. I'm just going to take this line, and I want to make sure that it lines up perfectly center with my corners. Okay, and for this, what you're going to do is instead of it being a score line, we want it to cut. So I'm going to come over here into score, and I'm going to go into the cut. Click out of that, and you see how now it's a solid line versus a dotted line. Perfect. Okay, selecting that line that we just created, and I'm going to Command D, which is duplicate, and I'm going to drag it back down to the other corner that's at the very bottom of it. Doing the same thing we did before. We just want to line up the corners, making sure it's right in the middle. Okay, I'm going to select the line again in Command D, which is duplicate. And now I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. I want it to go horizontally. And I'm going to drag this over to the right corner, making sure that it's all lined up. And then what you want to do is selecting that horizontal line you just created, and I'm going to Command D, which is duplicate. And now I'm going to drag this over to the left side. So now what you want to do is we're going to select the very back welded piece that we have, that purple the original purple that we have right here. So we're going to select that in our layers thing. I don't even know what they call that, but we're going to select it over to the right. We're going to press shift on our keyboard, and then we're going to select the score of the square, and then those 4 lines that you created, and then we're going to press attach. Okay, so we lost the yellow tails. So I'm going to arrange this to the back, and there's our white tails. Okay, so now what you want to do is just select your entire favor box that you have right here, and we're going to Command G, which is group. We're going to group it all together, and I'm going to drag this down just so I can accommodate for this mermaid tail. Now it's in the back, or I'm going to Command Shift in the outside bracket, or you can come up here to arrange and then arrange it to the front, and I'm going to resize this to my favor box. Rotate this over, and all I'm doing is resizing this so it is going to fit well with the entire project. Okay, when you have one, we're going to Command D, which is duplicate, and we're going to drag this over. We're going to flip it horizontally, flip it vertically, and then we're going to drag it over to this side, making sure that it looks good. We are going to glue it all separately at a later time when we go to assemble this. So really, we're just making sure that it's going to look really good and that it's sized proportionately. Okay, so when the mermaid tails are in the spots that you want it, I'm only going to do 2. You're going to select everything in Command G, which is group. So everything is grouped together. The important part about this is when you go to resize this. When you resize it, you want to make sure that the tails stay the same size as the rest of the box. Otherwise, that you'll have a lot of distortion. So in order to resize this, if you wanted one favor box to fill up an entire sheet of cardstock, what you want to do is come up here into shapes, and we're going to insert a square. Technically, the Cricuts can do 12 by 12 inches, but when it goes to cut, it needs like a 1/2 inch, like you lose a 1/2 inch for the border. So what we're going to size this to is 11.5 inches square. And we're going to arrange this to the back. So then going over into your grouped favor box, I am just going to align just the favor box. I'm only concerned about the favor box. If your favorite box fits inside this square, your mermaid tails will too. So now when it's all selected, you want to make sure and resize this at the same time. You're going to now just resize this until the favorite box will not fit or barely fit in that box. When you have that done, we're just going to move that over, and we're just going to delete that square because we don't need it anymore. Then all you want to do is save this, and then you go over into Make It. Now, I'm sure you're going to ask yourself, at what point in time are we going to get some mermaid print? Haha! I have the hack for you. Open up a Pages document, Word document. So I'm going to open up a blank window in Google Explorer, whatever. This is the image that I had used previously. How I got there is I just opened up a window in my Internet Explorer, and I put up like mermaid scale background. And I went over to images. You're going to have all these images to choose from. Some that I have like glitter and sparkle already in there. I don't need that because I'm going to sublimate on glitter cardstock. And some have like watermarks. Those are ones that you have to buy licenses for, and they cost money. And you just want to find one that speaks to you. When you have that, so let's go into the one that I used. I'm going to right click and I'm going to open a new image. It's going to pop up, same one that I have over here. And I'm just going to make this bigger. So I'm going to zoom in and making this bigger. Then what you want to do is you want to take a screenshot. So Command Shift 4 on your keyboard if you're on the Mac. And we're going to take a screenshot of everything that is the mermaid scales. When you're done and when you have that box lined up, you're going to let go. Going back over to your Pages document, I'm just going to put this over into my Pages document. Okay. Now, do you see how there is just a little bit right here that won't fit? What you could do is you can resize this. Resizing it will make the scales larger. Okay. And then all you want to do is Command P or print. I'm going to be using my Epson EcoTank. It's converted over from a regular inkjet printer to a sublimation printer. I'm going to go to Pages, Media and Quality. Instead of Auto Select, I'm going to go to Photo Matte Paper. And for this project, you don't necessarily need to do the next step, but it's just good practice to do. I'm going to go over into Layout. I'm going to flip it horizontally. Again, there's no writing here, so technically you really don't need to do this step, but again, it's just for good practice. You would not want to like forget next time. Now, I have 2 pages on my Pages, but really I only have 1, so I want to make sure that 1-to-1 is clicked, so I only print 1, and then I'm going to press return. So now my sublimation print is now printing. Okay, so what you're going to need now is you're going to need to heat up your heat press, wait for the sublimation to print. You are also going to need some heat resistant tape. You are also going to need some double-sided stick tape or hot glue. I'm going to be using hot glue to assemble my box. Okay, so wait for the print and your heat press to heat up, and then come back here and we'll do all the assembly together. What else I forgot to tell you to do? Cut. I'm like so excited about this craft. I totally forgot. Cut out all your pieces of your glitter cardstock. Remember, you're going to need 3 sheets. Cut those out and then come back to me. Okay, so what you should be left with is 4 pieces of the white glitter cardstock, and then 2 pieces for the tail, and then our cutout of the favor box. So very first thing you want to do is make sure that your heat press is heated up to 400 degrees for 30 seconds. Okay, so just taking our box, and remember those small little cuts that we had, that's fine, but all we're gonna do is just bend our score lines in. Okay, and then with those little lines, the little lines that cut out, we're just gonna bend them in just a little bit. There's not any lines or anything like that. We're just gonna bend them in, so when you fold this together, it's going to really look crisp and clean. Okay, in my original favor box that I did all 4 sides as the mermaid tail print. I'm only gonna do 2 this time. I don't think it's really necessary to do the sides because it's just as pretty without it. So I'm only gonna do the front 2 sides. Okay, so when you're doing mermaid scales, you're gonna wanna make sure that your scales are facing down. So make sure the scallops are all facing down and the top is the very top of it. That's gonna go over like this. And I'm just going to line this up at the very bottom of our print. Now again, I'm only gonna do 2. So I'm gonna make sure that it's all lined up at the very bottom and then taking some heat resistant tape and we're just going to tape this on. You don't need to put too much tape. We just need enough tape that it's not gonna slide around. And then doing the same thing, I'm just gonna come over here and make sure that it's nice and straight. Getting a little bit more tape. Okay, I'm gonna open this up. I already have some parchment paper in there from a previous project. Let's trim up this sublimation print. Okay, and anytime you're doing sublimation printing, you're always gonna want to create a parchment paper sandwich. So one side has parchment paper and then you're gonna fold this over. You also always wanna make sure that it's the print side up. When you have that, just go over here. Okay, I'm gonna align this to the center of my pressing mat. I'm gonna push this in and then press my press button. Okay, while we wait for that to press, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of hot glue on one of these ends, just like that, and I'm gonna kind of push them together, clearing any hot glue that's left over. Okay, that's done, so we're gonna slide this out, and then peel away your paper. Look at how amazing this turned out. Look at that. I mean, oh my gosh. Game-changing crafts right here. Okay, so I'm done, so I'm just gonna turn my heat press off. Okay, going back over, I am just going to now glue my mermaid tail. So I'm just gonna do one and I'm just gonna use a little bit of hot glue. There we go. And doing the next one. So for this, I wanna make sure I'm only gonna do one. So I'm gonna line this up to the very middle. See where there's like a little bit of like a cutout here? That was from the original design. We're gonna hide that here in a second. I am just going to take a little bit of glue right there. I'm gonna line it to the back. Woo! Don't light your hand on fire with the hot glue. Okay, we're just gonna line our center fin with the center of that right there. Whew, that was hot. Okay, when you have that one glued on there, you're gonna go to the other side and we're gonna do the same thing. Taking a little bit of glue, you're gonna need to work fast on this. Taking a little bit of glue, we're gonna line this up. We wanna make sure that it's all aligned together and we're gonna press down. So then when we go ahead and glue our ends together, they will match up perfectly together. See that? Okay. So when that's all done, you can go and take your mermaid print, making sure that you go through the entire edge. We want to go to the very edge of this so there's no curling. And for this one, we put it right in the middle of our initial triangle. There we go. Going over to the other side, doing the same thing. We're just going to take a bead of hot glue and going over the very outside. Okay, and working quickly. There we go. Okay, so now if you wanted to fill this, you would go ahead and fill these real quick. And then when you're done filling, you just want to take your hot glue and glue just one tip of your mermaid tail. And then we're going to push these together like, ooh, don't touch the hot glue like I just did. We're gonna push these together. And there we go. Look at that. Oops. Look at how stinking cute these are. Yeah, we just created that from start to finish and look at that amazing sparkle and custom glitter cardstock that we just made. Yes, we just made that. All right, y'all, I sure hope I knocked your socks off and I inspired you to create. I will see you later.